Here's a segment from a recent Gun Talk radio episode. You can listen to all the Gun Talk radio podcasts however you tune in, or check out guntalk.com for more. Dennis out of Denver. Hey, Dennis, thank you for your patience. You hung on for a while.
Well, that's quite all right. It's important. I'm a Christian. I'm a Navy Vietnam vet, 74 years old. I'm a patriot, constitutional. And we could go down the list of all of the gun control laws that the left, the Democrats, have pushed for decades. You've hit on a couple, licensing and background checks. Denver or Colorado is trying to push, or maybe they already have, that holding the homeowner responsible if they don't have their firearms locked up in case somebody breaks in and steals them.
Right.
Well, without listing all of those gun control laws that the Democrats push and want to restrict and take away firearms rights from American citizens, it's kind of interesting, tragic, that the Democrat administration left and turned over basically military weapons, M16s and everything else, to Al-Qaeda and the Taliban.
Right. Oh, yes.
Helicopters and everything else.
At the same time, they're telling us, we shouldn't have semi-autos here, but they're going to give full auto M4s and saws and everything else to the Taliban.
Everything. So I would encourage anybody, put on their thinking caps and figure this out, America, because we are in trouble.
Let me ask you a question. We're way, way, way out on this, but I'm just wondering to what extent you think this debacle will play into the midterm elections or even the presidential elections coming up.
It's really difficult to tell. I used to call talk show people when they started saying, well, we have to do this at the ballot box. We have to do it at the ballot box. I call and I say, well, what happens if it doesn't? Well, we know what happened in 2020. You know, some people say it was stolen. I believe there was enough fraudulent votes. So I'm hoping that enough people will vote, but hold their voting precincts accountable. And I guess I'm going to have to do that myself. Most of it here is done with a drop box, but it's right at the courthouse. But
let me throw a thought out to you. It's along the same lines, okay, of the upcoming elections. There are probably tens of millions of gun owners that are not registered to vote. They tell me that half the members of the NRA are not registered to vote. You realize we could win all these elections if we got them all registered and they all voted in one direction? We could win all of them.
Sure.
Just done.
Sure. I've heard the same thing.
I can't even imagine. How can you be a gun rights person, a Second Amendment person, and not be registered to vote? I don't get it.
It's the same I've heard from Christian organizations that say many Christians don't vote. It's too important for America, our very founding. The price that was paid from the very beginning, that price for me is too precious, my brothers and sisters.
Yep. Well, we
served and bled and died. That price is too precious to let them take it away, but they've been whittling away at it and taking it, and I won't let it go. I know my position.
I applaud you, sir.
Thank you for your service and for your and for your opinion, for speaking on this, and continue to speak to everyone. Anybody who will listen. Anybody who will stand still long enough to listen. Mm-hmm. It's worthwhile. Dennis, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. You know, guys, I was thinking about this. I was just looking at some numbers, and they say it's like 1.5 million gun owners in California are not registered to vote. We win. If we register most of us and then we go to the polls, I don't think there's enough jiggering that can be done to fix an election if we come in with those kind of numbers.
Let me play devil's advocate, though, once, if you will.
Just once.
Just once.
The last time.
What do you think the number of people purchasing firearms that are Democrats or far leftists, how many do you think there are? So would that do anything? Would that ensure a win? I'm not sure it would.
It doesn't ensure.
Because the mentality is the problem, right? They'll come in and buy a gun now because they got to get it now before those rights are taken away. But they won't lose enough of other benefits
I
to
agree.
secure this freedom.
I understand what you're saying. And I'm not really talking about the new gun owners. I'm talking about even people who've been gun owners all their lives.
They're complacent.
They're just not.
Well, we're not going to win. We're in California.
If half the NRA members are not registered to vote, I mean, that's just criminal. But to your point, I think to your point, Michelle, and I've heard people say, well, we've got all these new gun owners, so we should be able to win. No, I think they're probably split fairly evenly as far as left and right and how they're going to vote. I don't think you can count on people just because they bought a gun to suddenly become pro-gun rights. I think a lot of them are going to say, I got mine, but I still want to see a lot of restrictions.
Right. Well, I've got mine now. So,
yes,
like
exactly.
you're going to be guaranteed you can keep it.
Right. Yeah. But I'm talking about the people who are actually tried true blue Second Amendment gun rights people who can't. Not only do they not vote, they can't vote. And so I mean, one of the things you say, well, then what do you do about it? Don't just bitch about it. Every gun store in the country should investigate, is there some way we can do voter registration here?
Not only that, but reaching out to some of these veteran groups, I think, is crucial. Because I'm sure there's probably quite a few veterans that aren't registered themselves either.
Good point. Yeah, hadn't thought of that, but that's exactly right. Good point. And that's a readily identifiable group that you can get to and say, let's get everybody registered. And then, look, this is how the world works. Then you organize to get them to the polls. If you got to drive buses or do whatever you got to do.
Drive in your car,
That is how it works. And people say, well, you shouldn't have to do that. That's just being childish.
Yep.
That's just not even being aware of the realities of the world. That is how you win, is you get people to the polls, period.
Right. And I agree with you. I think all gun stores should offer the ability for somebody to register to vote right then and there.